Well, hi folks, it's about that time again. I need to start preparing the sandboxes to grow the carrots in. So I'll get on and show you how I do it, and I'll try and explain a few things. As you can see, I've just emptied one out already into these buckets. So it's just a matter of like emptying now that into there and so on. But what I'm going to do with this one for a trial is I'm going to let the roots grow down into the soil, because if you can see with this one, I've got it growing. I've got the sand sort of resting on some of the weed membrane, so the roots can't grow through any deeper. So I'm going to cut a piece of that off. I'm going to cut a square out, so then the sand will be sitting on the soil, and then the tap roots can then grow into the soil, and we'll see if that gets any better results, which it should do really, because if the tap root can get into some really good stuff, then it should be better. So I'll just show you what the box is like. It's just a box I've made. Obviously it's not got a hole, it's not got a bottom in it, because you want it 100% well drained. So anything about 2 feet, 18 inches to 2 feet tall, and whatever size you want. This is 2 feet wide. This will do about 16 to 20 carrots in, depending on how many cores you can get out. And you can in fact grow them in buckets like that, because if you look how many buckets of sand have come out of here, there's 8 30-litre buckets, 2, 4, 6, 8. So that's getting off 250 litres of sand just for 16 carrots. But I would say you could probably get out of a bucket like this, spacing them out 1, 2, 3, you could get 5 out of that, so that'll be the equivalent of 40. So over twice as many in buckets than actually growing them in the box. But like I said, I just prefer doing them in the box. That's the way I've always done it, and I've got plenty of sand. So I'll just talk you through the sand. As you can see, now that it's rained, it shows how gritty the sand is. So this is sharp sand, or washed builder's concreting sand, whatever you want. But it's a mixture of grit, sand, so it's really well drained. It's absolutely thrown it down for the last couple of nights, and as you can see, it's not wet. Well, it's damp, but that's it. So that's what you're after. You don't want soft sand, that's far too fine, and it'll retain too much moisture, it'll keep them too wet. So what you're after is sharp sand or washed concreting sand, and then you should be good to go. Right, so I've chopped the bottom out, chopped the weed membrane out, and also what I like to do is to line it with some plastic. It looks a bit tatty now, but once I start shoveling the sand in, it'll push it all right to the edges, and that just keeps the moisture out and stops it from drying. Keeps the moisture in and stops the edges from drying out, because sometimes if you get a really dry spell and the wood warms up, you can get some like dry patches around the edges. But if you line it with some plastic, it doesn't matter what it is, old fertilizer bags, anything, and just sort of, like I said, just line it. You don't need to do it to the bottom obviously, because that wants to be drained, and that's what we do. So now we'll just get on and fill it up, the fun part. Alright then folks, this is last year's sand obviously, and people say, do you try and get as much of the compost out as possible? And I say, ideally you would do, but to be honest, I don't bother. Because if you look at the holes, these are the holes where the compost is. So I can pull a big handful of compost out, and you can actually use your corer to core them out again and discard it or put it on your garden, but I've never bothered for the last 5 years, and the sand just seems to be the same. So it's not a big deal. Doesn't make it any more sort of waterlogged or anything like that. So I'll just try and mix it up as we go and just fill them in. So this is the fun bit, like I said. Obviously you don't need a shovel as big as this if you get a bit tired, but yeah, it's quite a chore, but once it's done, it means you can grow fantastic carrots. If like you saw, the ones I pulled up the other day, still absolutely fine, almost 11 months after sowing them, so it is a good way. Like I said, there's alternatives. You don't need to do such a big box as this. You can do them in buckets or tubs or anything you like, but I just prefer this way. There's a carrot. Right, so continue with this, and then we'll show you how we get on. Oh dear, when I have to think of something else now. I'll have to go and get a smaller spade. Right, got myself a little spade. Got myself another dibber as well, look. You always get something for nothing. A lot easier going with this. So, last few scoops for now. Oh dear. Alright then folks, that's that box filled up now. Obviously it will sink quite a bit. So what I'll do with this, I'll leave it about 2 weeks for it to settle, level it off, then start coring it. So obviously I can't do the coring video yet, but I want to put the procedure on this video. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to find some old footage of me doing exactly the same thing of a couple of years ago, and I'll tag it onto the end of this video, and then you can get the whole procedure in one video instead of having to wait about 3 or 4 weeks. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take a core of sand out with this drain pipe. It's about a 2 3/4, 3 inch drain pipe. I'm going to get 16 holes in here. So I'm going to take a core of sand out and then fill the core with compost and grow the carrot in each little, we call them stations, but each tube full of compost, which is surrounded by the sand. It's the same with the long carrots, I'll show you in a bit, but they're different because they're in big 4-foot barrels. So like I said, I've got a 2-foot box here, 2 foot square, 2 foot deep, and I'm going to try and get 16 holes out of this. So what I'm going to do, I've got a piece of drain pipe, I'm just going to plunge it down, do it half at a time, and hopefully we should be left with the sand in the bottom of the pipe, like so. So we'll get rid of that. Now some people can have a bit of trouble with the sand falling out of the pipe, so what I like to do is, like I say, give it a bit of a watering, leave it a week, so then the sand's not too dry. And also on the inside of your pipe you can give it a bit of a scratch or a score, just to give it something for the sand to key to, so it doesn't slip out. So I'll go down to the full depth now. That's 2 feet deep. We'll pull it out and hope nothing drops out. And there we go, stuck in the pipe. We'll just get rid of the sand. Now be careful, you can do them without filling them in. Sometimes you can do one, fill it in, do another, fill it in, but I can usually get away with doing them all at once without them collapsing and then filling them all in at once. So we'll give that a go. So I'll just finish off the rest of these and I'll just show you how I fill it and what compost to use, which isn't anything out of the ordinary. So I'll get on and finish off these and show you the rest of it. So that's 16 holes done, that's the first box, if you can see, without them all collapsing. So 2 foot deep now, just ready to be filled with the compost. So I'll just show you how easy it is to do that and just give you a little talk about what the compost's made of. Right folks, so I'll fill these up now, use my little funnel, handmade obviously. I'll just show you what the compost looks like and what it's made of. And basically all it is a very fine seed compost. This is Sinclair. I used to use Levington's F2 plus sand, and all I've added to that is 1 ounce of calcified seaweed powder per 10 litres, and that's it. No more fertilisers, because root veg don't need a great deal of fertilisers to grow, and if you put too much in it can get too big. So it couldn't be easier. Just a Levington's F2 or Sinclair modular seed compost, or any seed compost of your choice, but it's got to be really fine. This is luckily really fine out of the bag, so I've no need to riddle it, but if it has got a few bits and pieces in it, you can put it through like a 5mm riddle just to get all the bits out of it, so your carrots have got a nice fine mixture to grow into, so they don't hit any twigs and bits and start forking. So it couldn't be easier. Just sprinkle the stuff in up to the top of the hole. You can tamp it down, I used to do, but now I don't bother, so I'll just let it fall under its own weight. I think it takes about maybe 2 litres per hole. That's 1 filled up. Take the excess away. Just give it a slight firm at the top. And then what we put on now are these little rings. just put these rings on so that when I sow the seed and I do any watering, it doesn't wash all the compost away, you see. And also sometimes they can grow out of the top of the compost, and if that's the case then you can just add a little bit of compost into the ring over the top of the carrots to stop the shoulders of the carrots going green, and it just makes it a lot easier really. So like I said, couldn't be easier. Just give them a quick fill up like so, tamp them off, put the ring on, and that's it. So that's the 16 holes filled up now with the little rings put over them. Just a matter of sowing the seeds in a couple of weeks now. I'll cover this up with polythene to keep the moisture in, and then we're sowing these middle of April. 2 or 3 seeds per hole, thinning them out to the strongest one once they've established, and then just letting them grow on, keeping them bed moist. Time of year again, time to pull the show carrots up. Not even tried one yet, so that's 5 months of growing. My first show's in 2 days. Well, tomorrow actually, so I'm going to pull these up now and see what we've got. These are the sweet candle. Oh dear, let's have a look. Right, let's start with that one for no reason at all. I hope we've got some nice ones. They're looking nice on the top. Try and just give it, ease it out without snapping the taproot off, and hope it's a nice smooth one with a stumped end. I am very happy with that, folks, for the first one of the year. Clean, stumped up, lovely shape. So that's a bonus for the first one. So I've got to get just a matching pair for my local show. But for a first one, that's a beautiful one. That's about the right size, about 9-10 inches long. Nicely stumped up on the end. No sign of any carrot fly or anything. So as a first one, that's a good one. Trouble is, it's trying to match them up. So we'll try this one now. Now that's the trouble, you see. Cracking carrot. Lovely one, but it's longer. It's a lot bigger, look. That's not a matching pair, is it? Oh dear, this is where it all goes. So we'll pull another one up, and then another, and another, until we get a matching pair. Try this one. This is why when I did the national a few years ago, when you have to get 5 carrots, it's an absolute nightmare trying to match them. Right, that one looks a bit thinner and a little bit longer, but they're all fantastic carrots. But I don't want to pull all my whole bed up just for 2 carrots, but you've got it. Oh dear. Right, try another one. I've heard a snap. Oh, that's a small one. It's getting worse. Lovely carrots, but they're not matching anything. In fact, that's not too bad. Just for a local show, it's not too bad. What I could do with matching one of the bigger ones, so we'll keep going. Now that one looks like a big one, judging by the tops. Now that has got to match one of those two, surely. Surely. Not too bad. So I think that'll do for the carrots, because it's only a local show. I'm not wasting my old box just for a local show.